Hey everybody, how's everybody doing tonight? Sorry about that. We had a little bit of technical difficulties because it's Olga's first time joining a stream or a podcast for that matter. But she's backstage, so we're ready to go. And I got a little surprise for you guys tonight, man. I actually made up an intro video, but I have to do it manually because I don't have the StreamYard Premium where it gives you the option to add it on there before you show or whatever with the countdown or something like that, I think. But yeah, I have it and I'm fixing to present it to you guys, and hopefully y'all can hear it because this is my first time, so I'm not sure if y'all gonna be able to hear it. I know y'all gonna be able to see it, but I don't know if y'all gonna be able to hear it. So hopefully it works. Everything works good, and y'all be able to hear this intro, okay? If y'all do, and if y'all don't, let me know in the comments, okay? And yeah, I got Olga backstage. We're gonna be talking about Chupacabras tonight, guys. Can't wait, man. And this is straight coming from someone from Puerto Rico, which is, as all you may know, that's where the original Chupacabras started. And then it moved on to like sightings in Texas and all that. But we'll get into that as we go in the program. Okay, guys. So I'm fixing to put up my my intro, and I hope you guys like it. Okay. All right. All right, there it goes. That's the intro, guys. That's the new intro. I hope you guys liked it, and I hope you can hear it too. Did y'all hear that? Can y'all let me know in the comments, please? Because like I said, it's my first time, so I'm not sure if you guys can hear that. And yeah, okay, well, ready to get the show started, guys. Without further ado, let me bring Olga on, and we can go ahead and start talking about Chupacabras. And thank you for everyone that's here. I see a lot of people here. Okay, Nana, Paranormal Fan, Spiritual Encrypted Encounters, my good brother Abe Cius, I think Ruthie Castro, my cuz, and I know Tommy was in there for a little bit at the beginning, but we were having problems. But we're back on. So yeah, welcome everybody back to Cryptid and Paranormal Kingdom. I'm your host, Carlito Castro, and tonight we are having an awesome Chupacabra episode. And Olga's going to be telling us all about her encounters and the eyewitnesses and the sightings and all the stories she knows from Puerto Rico. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring Olga on, guys. Hey, Olga, how you doing?
Pretty good, Carlitos. Hello, and hello to everyone out there. My first time.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for being brave enough to come on my podcast, being your first time. But like I said, everybody pretty much is nervous, like their first time, maybe, couple 2 or 3 times. After that, it gets a lot easier, and you're no longer nervous because you're kind of used to it now. So yeah, don't worry, it's all good. I know you're gonna do great because like we talked, on the phone, and you were telling me about all the stuff that you did. I'm like, man, that sounds great. If you could just put that on the camera when I interview you, it'll make a great show. So yeah, that's awesome, Olga. Can you tell the people a little bit about yourself, where you're from? Obviously Puerto Roco, where you live now, and a little bit about yourself before we go into the encounters.
I'll be glad to. Okay. I was born in Puerto Rico, in my hometown. Jayuya is where the incident that I will explain, along with Carlitos. I was an Army brat. My dad served 33 years, so we lived all over the world, including Germany and Panama. And I would go to Puerto Rico. I think the most I would stay was 2 years in my lifetime. I mean, on and off as a child, depending where my dad was transferred to a war like Vietnam, Korean War, or where he could not have his family. So I now live in North Carolina, the Tar Heel State, Sanford, small little town, very, very small. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Aw-
Happy, very happy.
Yes, awesome, awesome. Now you were born in Puerto Rico, but you told me that you had came to the United States a long, long time ago, right? Would you say like 30, 40 years now, right?
Oh, no, more than that. I was 1 year old when I moved to Panama with my parents, and then it's been uh, Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas twice, North Carolina,
Hmm.
California, Kentucky. I think I said Arkansas. I'm not sure. Germany
Right.
and Panama. Like
Right,
I
yeah,
said,
because
I
you were an
think
army brat. So first it was with your
yes,
father, right? And then it was with your husband. So
yes,
basically you've been
yes,
an army brat all your life then. Yeah.
yes. I should get some stripes for being an army brat, to be honest, but not
I know.
permissible.
I know.
But yeah, yeah. I've
Awesome.
been here, and like I don't know if people know, Puerto Rico is an American uh, Commonwealth, so we are American citizens. 100%. We can't vote. So I've always been home here, anywhere in where I'm at. So North Carolina now.
Oh wow. Okay, North Carolina. Well,
Yeah, welcome.
I got one of my best friends in the cryptid world, and in real life actually, because I talk to him a lot more than I do my friends that I have here close to me. Him
All
and
right.
yeah, his name is Thomas Cardos. He's actually here in the chat. He goes by North Carolina Cryptid and Paranormal Project, and he's from North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and
A good
he's a
question.
fellow podcaster. Yeah, me and him started off together, but now he's got his own podcast going, which is another great channel. You should check it out. By the way, North Carolina Cryptid and Paranormal Project, and he's from North Carolina, like I said. So yeah, what a small world, right?
It is. And the good thing is, Sanford, where I'm at, I've been already about 5 times to the Devil's Trampling Ground, which your friend, he knows about very well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
World famous. So, yeah,
Oh yeah,
right
yeah.
next to it. So,
North
anyway,
Carolina, you know what? North Carolina's a big hotspot too for dogmen, but more so Bigfoot, Sasquatch. It's like Sasquatch, country out there,
yeah.
for what I've heard. So yeah, like everybody mentions North Carolina with Sasquatches, and but yeah, he's here tonight. What's up, Tommy? I see you, buddy. Appreciate you for coming in. He's actually on vacation, so he's not going to be here too long. He just said he's going to stop by. Appreciate that, brother. And yeah. So okay, so let's go ahead and start with the encounters that you had. Now, I remember you said you had your encounters when you were a little girl, right?
Yes.
Okay, can you start with those, please?
Yes. I was roughly 8, 9 years old. My dad was in Korea. And that one year, 1959, we were in Jayuya. And Jayuya is in the very central of the island, which is 110 miles, by the way, long, 35 miles. And we're in a valley right in the middle, surrounded by nothing but the mountains. And my uncles and I'll live there. And my uncle, his son, and I think maybe two of my cousins were in a car, and we were coming back down from the mountains to the valley from where we were visiting in an area called La Pica, the Point. That's one
Hmm.
of the highest parts of Puerto Rico. And it was nighttime, and we were at his wife's family.
Let me interrupt real quick.
Yes,
Okay, because a lot of people don't know what that means, la pica. Actually, it means the point. In Spanish, the original word is el pico, or pico means point.
Uh,
But
right,
la pica is referring to the mountain that is like that has the shape of a point. That's why she said la pica. Just so you
right,
guys understand, yeah.
right.
Okay,
And
continue.
that's what the area there is known as, that whole area, La Pica. And we were coming down, and it started raining real heavy. And uh, the roads there are like a lane and a half at that time. They're very narrow, dangerous, because they're very curved, a lot of curves. And the rain was so much that we couldn't really see anymore. So
Wow.
you had to find and park where there was a point right next to the mountainside, because of course on the other side, on the other lane, it was basically cliff-like. It was nothing but downhill. So on the mountainside, we had to find the first place and just park the car as far left, right as we could, which meant there was a wall of clay-like material, dirt, right? Not trees, but clay. And while we're there, the rain was just horrible. All of a sudden, we heard like rocks or something on top of the car. Now, this is 1959. And I remember being terrified because I noticed that my uncle was really, really like, what's going on? Could it be a landslide, which happens a lot? But then we saw the hand. That's what I remember seeing on my side. I was on the right side, passenger in front. And then I looked front, and there's no. Then we saw something jump on the hood of the car, and it was a creature. I don't think it was more than 2.5 or 3 feet tall.
Wow.
But it was nothing like we ever saw. I mean, I
So it's
remember,
so it's pretty small then. 2.5 to 3 feet tall. That's a
yeah,
small little creature. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, very small. But the color also was uh, because with the rain, the thunder when it came in, my uncle had the headlights on, so there was some reflection coming back on the car. While we're looking, these things, I think it must have been at least four, and we hear scratching on the side of the car and on the window. They were like trying to get. We seen these claws, and I remember it was. I want to say they were human-like, but they're not because they had long nails, claws,
Right.
and but the color they were greenish gray. They were not brown, black, no fur, no fur at all. And I could remember seeing the skin was tight and taut, like elbow, like when you look at your elbow going up and down, especially down. And these things were, and then we see the
Was it?
head
Hold on. Was it hairless? Like a lot of people describe it.
hairless, completely hair,
Okay.
reptilian. They
Wow.
were, I would say, definitely they were reptilian. And the reason I'm saying is because I remember watching the movies of dinosaurs back then. And I remember how their legs were. They were on two legs and a little arm. The arms were not like a four-legged animal.
So
Almost
the arms weren't long in the front.
uh, the legs and the back were the long ones. The arms, as I call them, were
Oh.
shorter, but they had an elbow. They had a hand. They were just like an arm, basically, not even animal. I would say more like a human with the elbow, the way it moved. And then the hands were, I'm pretty sure it was either, at least, I know it was 4 claws on it, or fingers with the long, but they were long and they were curvaceous. And then
Right.
it was the face that got it, the red eyes,
Red
much
eyes.
like reptilian eyes with a slit, and they were red, bloody red.
Wow. Yeah. That's how
And
they describe them. Red
and
eyes.
then the mouth when it opened, the mouth fangs, it was not, I'm not talking maybe, how about 2 inches or more, but they were fangs. And I remember seeing saliva dripping
Oh.
or some, that we do remember. I do remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And we were terrified. I remember we were screaming, and it seemed like, I don't know how minutes, at least it was just terror. It probably was no more than 15, 10 minutes, probably. I don't know the south, but it seemed like forever. And we're just praying. We're getting away from the windows. We're kind of cuddling into the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just terrified. And
Wow.
these things are jumping up. And I mean, they could jump. They jumped from the fender in the back, the hood. They jumped on top the roof.
Right.
And
Was it?
all we could hear was the scratching noise as they either scuttle across, jumped in, and then, but they were just trying their best to get in.
Wow. Were they hitting the windows or the hood or the top of the
They
car?
weren't they weren't hitting it. They were actually clawing more than anything.
Okay.
But they were jumping, and they jumped high. Um,
Okay.
so all I remember is that as soon as the rain let up, for some reason, I don't remember how, but my uncle got out. And I mean, it was downhill racing all the way, uh, sobbing and crying, but no talking until we got home. And that's all I basically remember because the shock was so much. I don't even think we even said anything. I think my uncle might have, I don't know, but I know that I just was crying uncontrollably.
Right.
So that was that night.
I
Now I
got
guess,
hold on. I got a question about that one first.
yes,
I got a couple of questions. I got a question from my good friend. I call her my sister. Okay, Nanda. She says question, was the back fin scaly? Do you remember how the back was, or the
the back, yes,
skin?
the back, you know what I remember?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Ridges on the back spine,
Mm-hmm.
ridges, like not going forward but backwards. In other words, from the neck, it seemed where the back started, they were curved. The animal was, the back was curved like a
Oh,
hunchback,
okay. Yeah.
but it had these
So it
little,
had like a hunch to it, right? Is what you
yes,
mean? The back?
the
Okay.
back from the neck down.
Mm-hmm.
It was back. I don't remember ears either. I'll be honest. And I think I might have noticed the scales. And I say that because I remember that I keep remembering reptilians. And when I think reptilians, I think scales. Whether it was scales or not, but it reminded me much like a lizard skin.
Right.
The fact, it reminded me like the skin from the horn
You
toed
mean like a
lizard.
lizard skin, like a maybe let's say an iguana? You think something like that, similar to that, or
Like an iguana. Well, we do have iguanas in Puerto Rico.
mm-hmm.
Not, mm, no, there was no way there were iguanas. I mean, like iguanas, because the coloration was completely off. There was something, there was a glint, a real glint to the skin itself. It's like almost, it shone like when the lights would hit it.
or,
Yeah,
or, or,
no,
or or was it more like a smooth type of skin, not so rigid as an iguana? Because an iguana is got like a rigid, like
no,
hard, tough skin. You know what I mean?
no, it was rigid in the sense that it was tight where the arms, like I said, where the arms where the hands are. I could see that it was taut, tight, but not, and the claws were not like an iguana's either, because I remember like for some reason they reminded me almost human like in a way. Not,
Hmm.
what I'm saying is somehow it just reminded me the way they moved.
Hmm.
It, it's, I don't know how to describe it, but
So,
no,
do you think it was like maybe like a mermaid, type skin, or a Komodo dragon? They're putting these comments up, which are really good. Thank you, guys. No.
no, I think more, to be honest, I think it was like a snake-like, almost
Oh,
snake-like.
okay.
There was a certain link to it. But what really got me was the curvature of the from the neck down, and then you had the spikes following the curvature at the back. Let me see, one, two. Yeah, like an iguana would have spikes, right?
Hmm.
The difference was,
So it did have the spikes, those famous spikes that go
yes,
down its back, right?
right, right.
Okay.
But it was the face that really got us because it was fangs. It was fangs. I mean,
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
and then
Hmm.
and then the noise they made. It was, I want to say, snarls. It was just horrible because we were crying, screaming, and the noise and they're just attacking, vicious, vicious. And like I said, and that's it. Also, their head was not like an iguana because their head was more like the neck, and then you had a shin coming out, like our shin would come out of our neck,
Hmm.
and it would come out, and then it would go back, and then the head, and then you would have the head go down, and then the back. So there wasn't like a iguana or where the head and the neck are like one piece almost. No, this was a definitive neck with the head having like a jaw sticking out underneath, coming out of it forward, and then the mouth. That's why I said reptilian, like dinosaurs.
Hmm.
And the legs also, they stood the whole time. They weren't on fours, they were jumping on two legs. And the arms were just like
Right.
hands and arms because they weren't using to stand on the arms and legs. They were standing on two legs only the whole time they were attacking and jumping.
Really? Just two legs, not four?
No, two,
Okay.
two legs.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So okay. There you go, guys. They never walked on four legs, like, because
No.
the chupacabras that sightings that are here in the states, they're more like a dog type of creature. You know what I mean? The back legs are longer than the front. Way longer. So
Hmm.
they kind of walk around like a kangaroo would. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's not a regular dog where they're all four limbs are
Hmm.
even. You know what I mean? So that's the reason why I'm bringing that out, where the back legs were longer, and it only walked on the hind legs, not the front legs at all, like a
Never.
dog would. I have a great question here, Olga, from my cuz Ruthie Castro. She's saying, Olga, have you ever tried to draw this creature? Very good question. Thank you, cuz. Have you ever tried drawing that, or have somebody draw it for you?
Not really. And I'm pretty, I used to be a really good artist and I haven't touched it in years.
Oh,
But that's
really?
a good thought. Yeah, that's a good thought because I do have a photogenic memory. I know that.
Mm.
But I really haven't. And the thing is, for so many years, I thought this story was just a dream that I remembered. I didn't dream it once and over and over. No, I just remember growing up that this was a dream I had. And once in a while, I would go back and remember it, but not dreaming. And
Yeah,
then,
I remember you telling me that you try to, put it behind you, thinking it
yes,
was just a dream, right? You told me,
mhm,
right, and then later on, it came back to you, right? Again,
yeah.
right.
And it came back in an odd way because when I went in 1981, my ex-husband, was deployed to Germany. So I
Hmm.
stayed behind in Puerto Rico with my parents who were visiting, taking a vacation there. And then when they left, I was to come back to North Carolina with them and then go back to Germany for the second time. So
Mm-hmm.
while I was there with my husband, ex-husband,
Mm-hmm.
we went to visit my cousin Robert, whose father and him, and I think maybe his other brother or sister was with us. Um, and we're talking, and I introduced my ex-husband for the first time to Robert at his house. And then all of a sudden, I remember at one point, Robert, I think it was when his kids stepped out, his children, runs over to my side where Joe and I are sitting, basically on his knees, comes out and says, Olga, in Spanish, Olga, do you remember that night that those monsters attacked us? I looked at him like, what? In Spanish, but okay. What monsters? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he says, don't you remember? That's why Dad doesn't drive at night, ever.
Mm-hmm.
And that I knew my uncle would never drive ever at nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the city, not outside for sure. Never, ever. So he could have an emergency in a family, he would not drive. So then then it hit me. He said, don't you remember we were in the car in La Pica?
Mm-hmm.
Then I remembered. I said, wait a minute.
That's where you
It
remembered
wasn't a
everything.
dream.
Yeah.
Right. That's when I said it wasn't a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Then he recounted, we started talking
And
and
then y'all.
reminiscing about it. And that's
Yeah.
when my husband, who already I had told him once about it, long time, and then he heard it, and I was completely in shock. That's when it hit me. This was not a little girl's dream. This actually, and it explained my uncle's behavior too. So that was
Right.
how I found out.
Oh, okay. Okay, awesome. Hey, I had another question for you. Hold on one second. It was from Abe. Abe C is from Spiritual and Cryptid Encounters. Was it during hurricane season or typhoon? Because you mentioned all the heavy rain.
No, no. In Puerto Rico, we have like a mini typhoon time, and
Oh.
up in the mountains, you can practically, when it's that season, at 1:15, you can put your clock. Thunder will come, and we'll get a rain. Well, it's
Mm-hmm.
just a rainy season in Puerto Rico. It's a tropical island, and it's no winter. Well, we have winter, but not like here. But
Speaking of that, Olga, I've always wondered because you know how all the hurricanes they come through from the Atlantic Ocean, and they go this way, and they go through all those islands right there, Puerto Rico,
mhm,
Dominican Republic, all of those islands. They go through Florida and part of Mexico, the tip of Mexico, which is Cancun, and they make their way all the way into the Gulf of Mexico, right? Which is Texas, Louisiana, all the states that are right there in the
right.
around the water, and they hit really bad. So I'm wondering. To me, it's kind of strange because like, how did they get past those islands first, and then go to like Texas and become a Category 4 or 5? Like, how does that happen? Like, and how does it not affect those small islands right there, because it has to go through there first. So I don't know. Why is that, Olga?
Well, I think it has to do also with the water temperatures because the Gulf waters are a lot warmer
Warmer. There you
and
go.
the
Yeah.
streams are high.
And the
And
Atlantic
also,
is cold, right?
right. And you got to understand the unique way the islands are. Puerto Rico, like I said, is very small. Then you got the Dominican and Haiti, which are on the big island of Hispaniola. Then you
Mm-hmm.
got Jamaica. You got, of course, the Virgin Islands, the British and the American. And then you got Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting part of this, the hurricanes, um, they actually start on the coast of Africa. That's where it stores the storm system.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
islands are not really notorious high
Yeah.
mountains. They're not the high mountains until you get to Cuba and
Yeah.
Santo Domingo.
Yeah.
And so for the hurricane, it picks up speed because once it hits uh, Puerto Rico, we got the Caribbean Sea on the south side of the islands of the Caribbean, and that is a much warmer temperature. And then you've got the North Atlantic, and they meet right there between Puerto Rico and Santo Domingo
Mm-hmm.
and Cuba. So you got that warm water. Then you hit to Florida, and that's where the Gulf Stream is at. So you already got these powerful storms that are picking up speed as they move west.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because of
But
the
there
warm
has been
temperatures,
the
like you said. Yeah.
right. And then we get the anomalies like with Maria. And we had San Siriaco back in 1917, which was a tornado killed thousands. I mean, a tornado hurricane.
Hurricane. Yeah.
And that hurricane turned around and hit the island 2 times.
Wow,
Actually
that's
did a U-turn.
crazy.
And you got to understand also, Puerto Rico is where the word hurricane originated because the Taino Indians, the word for hurricane was huracan. And the Americans took and it became hurricane.
Right, right. I always wondered because it sounds very, very similar. Huracan in Spanish, huracan is, I mean, and it's spelled the same way. It's just not two R's. I think it's just one R. But it's instead of hurricane, it's huracan
Right,
without the e at the end.
right. Huracan
Right.
from the Taino
Yeah,
Indians.
it's very similar. Yeah,
Yeah.
huracan and hurricane. Yeah, that's I've always wondered that. Wow. Yeah, yeah. Ruthie says, "Love her knowledge makes me want to go to the islands." Yeah,
Oh,
man.
go visit us. It's beautiful
Oh
there.
yeah, that's in my bucket list. Oh god, I need to go visit. Yeah, it's. I heard so many beautiful things about Puerto Rico and Cuba as well. Okay,
Yeah.
well now let's go ahead and move on to the next encounter, Olga, that you had. That one, the one you said when you were a little girl. What year was that actually? Do you remember?
19, which one? The one that I just mentioned or going to?
No, no, the one you mentioned already. The one you were a little girl and it got
1959. 1959,
okay, okay, and
for
this
sure.
guys just want to make sure that everybody
Yeah.
knows this was not known. Nothing was known about back then about chupacabras.
No,
Chupacabras came into the scene in the early '90s, and that's what me and Olga were
exactly.
talking about. She's like, "Yeah, you're absolutely right." I said, "Yeah." So how did you see that back in 1959? She's like, "Yeah, we didn't know what it was, but we saw it." I'm like, "Oh wow, okay." So then that was the chupacabras before anybody knew what it was. Because yeah, I remember the original, when the kind of like the mass hysteria that it caused. It was in the early '90s. They brought it out like in the Puerto Rican news. That's where it first started, and then it moved on to like the Mexican news and all the rest of Latin America news, and everybody was like all crazy and all scared. Everybody was scared. Actually, I
Yeah.
remember that year when it came out. I was actually visiting my family in Mexico, and it came out in the news, and everybody was scared to go out at night. Everybody was looking all around the trees, and like, because they said that it flew, right? It flew, and everybody's looking up at the trees, and everybody's scared to go at night because it was like the hot spot thing at that time. You know what I mean? So everybody was scared of that in the early '90s. I think it was '92, '93, or even '94, something like that. Somewhere around
Right.
that area. Somewhere around that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just wanted to make that clear that that's when it all came out, in like the early '90s. But you had yours when you were a kid in 1959. Okay, so now let's move on to the next encounter, Olga.
Okay. Okay. This one is indirectly in the sense that I wasn't there, but I know the whole story, and my cousin Hector Marin, the son of my aunt Doris, who's my father's sister, Dori Marin from the Colazo family in Ayuya. So this takes back in the same place I first saw them. Well, it was way after the urine, but it was way after the original sighting of the chupacabra. It probably was I want to say 1996,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 98. But what is interesting is this is where I tied things together with 1959 and what I saw in what the chupacabra of Puerto Rico. And the chupacabra of Puerto Rico is very different than the ones in Mexico, Texas, and South America see.
Yes.
The original chupacabra was reptilian,
Mm-hmm.
very much like what I said.
Yeah, with the
It's a
spikes in the
jumper,
back. Yeah, it
spines
was
in
a
the back,
jumper. Mm-hmm.
reptilian, that stands on 2 legs only, and it uses its hands for leverage when it jumps. It, what people have said that it stands, but it has used its hands like to balance as it begins to jump. I've
Right.
heard that too. But it is what I saw, the red eyes, and that's the Puerto Rican original.
Mm-hmm.
And it went globally, like you said.
Yeah,
Well,
with global.
back in 19, I think it was 98, it was near 2000.
Wow.
Well, we're living in North Carolina, and my father got a call from my aunt, Doris Collazo, and her son Hector was it? Yeah, Hector Marin
Mm-hmm.
was working at the mayor's office in my hometown, and the mayor, if I'm correct, was oh my gosh, I got a mind block now. Uh, he worked there, okay,
It's okay.
and one day he comes home. I think it was for lunch, and he told his mother, "You're not going to believe this, but this happened." Then he proceeds to tell my aunt that they got a truck, I think it was one or two trucks pulled in front of the mayor's office in Hayuya. Some gentlemen got out and they mentioned they were dressed, some of the people were dressed like in hazmat suits with
Yeah.
face coverings and everything. And there were
Mm-hmm.
white trucks. And these men came out and they wanted to talk to the mayor, and he was there. Hector was there when they were told that they were there to pick up a specimen from a farmer who claimed he had found a chupacabra skeleton under his home in
Right.
Hayuya, up further up in the mountains. Matter of fact, the same direction where I had my encounter when I was a kid. That direction, but a different locale completely.
Okay. Just in the
So,
general area, but in a different spot,
right,
right?
very,
Mm-hmm.
very, a couple miles, I would say,
Okay.
a little more northern, east, and northwest correction. And they were there, but they were not to tell anybody, especially from the news, anybody what they were doing there. Because, of course, everybody in the town, it's a real small town,
Mm-hmm.
and they would leak it out, and they did not want people to know what they were doing.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah,
they
they try to keep it
proceeded,
hush hush so it won't make a big,
right,
scene. Get a lot of people in there. Mm-hmm.
right. So it turns out that they went to the farmer who was probably in his late 30s, 30s, with small kids.
Mm-hmm.
And the skeleton he found was over 2 feet. And they took it, they asked him questions, told him not to say nothing. But some of the neighbors already knew and had seen it. So it came out in the newspaper. And my aunt had already told my dad about it.
Mm-hmm.
And dad was 33 years military, 3 wars, 2 wars. One, he worked undercover for the CIA for a year as a civilian in Vietnam, watching a Agent Orange supply in Pleiku, Vietnam. So he was very private. My dad was no nonsense. Neither was my aunt. So he didn't believe in the chupacabra until that moment when
Right.
my aunt, because she was reliable. She is not a prankster, joke, or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
No nonsense kind of guy.
yes, and she the same. And then it came out in the newspaper. They had found Chupacabra in Hayuya, and it was in the Fayetteville Observer newspaper by the 18 News Network. Then, I think it was 6 months after they reported it in the news, and I believe they might have even reported on several TV stations about the find, because it made world news in smaller sense. But to put it easily, about 6 months later, then there was a little article in the Fayetteville Observer
Mm-hmm.
that the chupacabra found turned out to be, quote, government, nothing more than a cat skeleton.
Oh yeah, they covered it up and
Exactly.
changed the story. That's really common with the government. After they find something that's supposed to not exist, Yeah, that's what they did.
Exactly.
They do that with cryptids. They do that with Bigfoot. Even they do that with what we know as Dogman, which is kind of like a werewolf, but it's a werewolf 24/7. It doesn't transform, and a lot of people think it's from the government. A lot of people think it's from another realm. A lot of people think it's spiritual or demonic. There's all different types of ideas, but all in all, when they have an encounter or spot something in their home or their property, and they get the police involved. Of course, the police call the who guys, and the who guys come and take whatever they find or whatever, and then they tell the story and say nothing happened here, and it was just a bear attack. You know what I mean? When they find a body mauled and all scratched up and they just change the story. They change their their way of describing it, whatever. But yeah, I had another question also from Ruthie Castro, I believe, real quick. Oh man, let me see if I can find it now. Shoot, where'd it go? Okay, here it is. It says, I have a question, Olga. Do you think this creature could be a shapeshifter or a brujo in some sense?
No,
Brujo is a witch doctor, guys.
No, I'm sorry. I really believe this was a real entity. It wasn't a shifter. It wasn't blue. It wasn't it. And I'll even go. Oh, before I say anything, I just want to clarify that the National Enquirer did an article on the Hayuya. They put Hayuya. I read it, and I know the National Enquirer, but a lot of the stuff is what they said. A lot of stuff does check out. I mean, it's a shock news, I guess you would call it, but they had the picture of the skeleton, and I remember seeing the man's picture, the owner of the farm, and the skeleton showed the backbone with the ridges, and it was not a cat face either. There was no way I've seen dead cats. I have feral cats I take care outside. So and a farmer knows animals better than anybody. And that skeleton was found right under his house. People build houses in Puerto Rico. You got 3.5 million people on a small island. Anywhere they can build a house on the side of a mountain, they will do it. And the houses are cement, and a lot of them are on pillars. And under the pillars, people use that for their chickens, their
little hens or chicken coop kind of
anything,
thing,
right?
Or any type of little animal that they keep.
Yeah. So that's where he found it. It was under
the house. Yeah.
And it was
because you got the tall pillars like this, right, where the house is sitting up on top, like maybe say 2 foot, maybe.
More than that. More than that. Yeah,
okay.
they can go 7 feet because the house is way up there, and they have to reach where the house can be built, and then the nearest point where you can put the pillar at the base. But yeah, and the Enquirer had the pictures of it, and the guy was there. I remember he had a mustache. Can't remember his name, but my aunt Dori Collazo, who's still in Ayuya, her son, who's still in Ayuya, Adrian Torres was the mayor. Adrian Torres was the mayor. And many people saw it. Many people in Puerto Rico are acquainted with the UFO. And another person that is an expert on it, because he's an investigator, the top of the line, Jorge Miranda Marin. Jorge Marin.
Right, you were telling me that.
Check him on Facebook. The guy is an expert on a chupacabra. They still are being seen in Puerto Rico. They can jump 7 to 8 feet. People still see them. They are high jumpers. And what I saw, and from what the description of the chupacabra, it adds exactly to what I saw. And those were probably baby chupacabras when the beginning. And again, I think they're real entities. They're either pets from the aliens, the UFOs of Puerto Rico, a hotbed.
That's what I always thought, Olga, that the original chupacabras looking like an alien type, reptilian kind of, little beast or whatever you call it, because it was little. It was like 2 to 3 feet only. That's what they, described it as back in the early '90s, with the spikes and the big red eyes.
Mhm.
I thought maybe that was some type of alien pet, that was, you know, that they might have brought here, just at that time, kind of like a little mini predator type of deal. You know what I mean? And it was just coming because it was so strange. I remember, from the news and everything, that it wouldn't kill the animals. It would just drain the blood. It would just
Exactly.
it would just stick its fangs in and make two little puncture holes in the neck, and then drink all the blood from there, and leave them with no blood whatsoever. And that's all it did. It only killed them just to drink the blood. It wouldn't eat it. It wouldn't take it anywhere. It would just leave it there, kind of like dehydrated right there. That's how the farmers would find them in Puerto Rico back then. So yeah, that's kind of going over what I remember of the chupacabra, the original chupacabra.
Hmm.
Now I got a question from Spiritual Encrypted Encounters. He says, ain't there an island nearby Puerto Rico that do experiments on animals? Do you know about anything about that?
Okay, I can tell you
Okay.
when I lived in
Mm-hmm.
1966, my dad, we came from Germany because my dad it was when they were pulling the troops out of Germany, sending them to Vietnam. So we had the option for the Puerto Rican wives that if their husbands were stationed to Vietnam or Cambodia or Laos, we could live on Fort Buchanan and the other military bases on Puerto Rico on the Navy's housing project, for the Navy uh, personnel and their families, which we did. Well, there was
Mm-hmm.
on Fort Buchanan, which is right next to San Juan and Rio Piedras, there was
Mm-hmm.
a compound that we all knew. Uh, it was like a little hill headed towards the northern part of the island of the town of Catano. Well, on this hill, everybody knew that they had a facility there where they kept monkeys, and they were being used for unknown reasons for testing. We also have the island of Puerto Rico where the rhesus and I can't remember the other monkeys. They had a facility there from the U.S. government with private laboratory uh,
Mm-hmm.
on the study of monkeys. What they were doing there, we don't know. That's where now we got some monkeys on the island somehow escaped from the island de Mono Island,
Mm-hmm.
which is on the west coast of the island. And those monkeys now have gone to the mainland. But yes, we have had studies. And even my dad brought the point up that he himself thought that could it be a military genetic testing? And that shocked me because but like I tell you, my dad did do some side work for the CIA. I know
Right.
that for a fact. We found the papers
Hey,
shortly
Hey
before.
Olga, Laura just sent me through Messenger, and I brought it up on my computer and everything. I'm gonna share the screen to show that picture that she sent me, and that's an awesome picture, by the way. She wants to know if this is the skeleton that you seen in the news.
One moment. Let me get my glasses on. I'll be honest, because
Hmm.
I'm kind of blind here.
That's an
Yeah,
awesome.
something like that. Something like that.
Right.
It was the spines were like that.
There's the spines there,
Yes,
but
that looks like the one the Inquirer
you know
had.
what? You know what?
But
That
it
that.
was, uh-huh.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But the thing is with the Inquirer, the face was facing where the back of it is, and it
Hmm.
was a little wider. But I do remember and there you see the curve, and you see that the head is nothing like an iguana. I
Right.
mean, the
Yeah.
head
It's almost like
actually,
a human skull, kind of.
yes,
Yeah.
and you see the arms, and you can tell the legs are animal, but the hands have a longer reach, much like a human's hand.
Yeah.
That's what I
And
was
look, and
talking
that one,
about.
that one there has like 3 claws. It looks like.
Yeah, three claws, but like I said, as a child, it was hard to discern the count because I'm seeing hands, and the hands that I know have 5 fingers, but everything else checks out. But those are the claws,
Mm-hmm.
the claws, the curved claws that I saw.
And look at the spines on his back. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think
Exactly, that's what we saw, but with
yeah.
skin on them.
Mm-hmm.
In other
That's a
words,
that's a great picture, Laura. By the way, thank you very much for that, for
awesome.
sending me that.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Lord. Yeah, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But the Inquiries was very similar. And if there's any way we could check into the Inquirer's story
Mm-hmm.
with a picture, it has to be somewhere in the Inquirer's library.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to search for it, but I've tried searching. But it was on the APs, and like I said, it is true because my aunt, and you can check my cousin's name,
Mm-hmm.
Robert Toro, Roberto Toro. He's still in Jayuya,
Mm-hmm.
and he's the one that visited. And then my uncle, God rest his soul, he would never at nighttime. He was terrified,
Mm-hmm.
terrified.
Yeah, yeah, I bet, man. I wanted to I wanted to mention something that I've seen uh, throughout the cryptid study years that I've been doing. I've seen it was like a little alien. It was discovered in Mexico, and it looked just like this, but it didn't have the spikes in the back. But it was just a little humanoid alien that they found in Mexico, just like this, and it
I
looked like
remember.
maybe I'm gonna say maybe 4 or 5 inches long only. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like tall or whatever. Little bitty thing. But they found it kind of like hugging a little tree, like a miniature tree or something like. But it was dead. You know what I mean? It's just like the one in the picture here that we have up. And I don't know if it just died there or froze to death or whatever, but it was hanging on the tree, kind of like a little troll kind of deal.
Hmm.
But he was an alien. They named it as an alien, like a alien, you know, figure, humanoid
Right.
figure.
I,
Yeah,
I'm well acquainted with that story
you
too
know which
because I
one?
saw it.
Yeah, yeah, and
And
that one reminds me a lot of that one, but without the
they're trying to
spines.
debunk it, but
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
the story holds true. There's a lot more to it in the background of the
Mm-hmm.
people involved, but I can't remember the reporter who's world famous who um, uh, got in touch with the owners of that creature, and it's
Mm-hmm.
in his possession. And it's been studied, but again, the governments, the powers that be, debunk it as a hoax.
Right.
And no, it's not a hoax because it's just not for me at least. No, no.
Right.
And but the chupacabra still exists in Puerto Rico. It's people still report it.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. I bet it does. It just doesn't make headlines anymore like it used to. You know what I mean? Back in the early '90s, that's when it was like it blew up like worldwide. You know, everybody was like, "Oh man," everybody was talking about it here in the states, in Mexico. I imagine all of Latin America as well. But yeah, man. Okay. Olga, what do you have any other stories from any other people besides the ones you had yourself and your dad and the ones you described to us already? Do you have any other stories from other people? Okay, no? Okay.
No,
Well, let's move on to the other cryptid that you told me that there's in Puerto Rico besides the chupacabra. Can you
yes,
move on to that, please?
yes, it's a gargoyle, and this one appeared in the late 1959, early 60s. Still reported. It is a gargoyle. That's what they call it. El Gorgola. I believe it's El Gorgola.
Mm-hmm.
And I've read it about it.
Well,
And
In Spanish, they call it gargola.
gargola, that's what we called it.
Yeah.
It's a gargoyle. And it
Mm-hmm.
has the bat-like wings, and it flies. Now, this one does fly. And I guess you could say it could be also a mothman. Some people have tried to compare it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's it's still very active there. And one moment, I'm gonna have to recharge my phone.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
One
yeah.
moment, I'm gonna hook it up.
Plug it in. Yeah, plug it in. Yeah, I was at
Yeah, I have to.
13%.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have to because my wonderful. I disconnect it when I not charge it because my cat can get electrocuted.
Oh,
Electrocuted.
electrocuted. Yeah, yeah.
My brother.
It's actually funny, Olga. That's happened to me a couple of times. I'm saying like two, at least two times. Where I'm on my show, and I forget that I'm not charging my computer, and then boom, it
Oh,
turns
yeah,
off. Yeah, and then I got to
there
tell
we
everybody.
go.
I got to tell everybody through my phone, like, hey, sorry guys, I'll be right back. 2 minutes. I gotta hook up my,
Yeah,
my
it's
charger.
crazy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy. It happens. It happens. And I
right.
was
It
just looking
does.
at right before you said that. I was looking at my battery life, and it was at 13. I was like, oh, better connect it before.
Yeah, we don't want to be cut off, definitely.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, the gargoyle. And
yeah.
the one person that can is another good source for all paranormal in Puerto Rico, knows everything, is Jorge Martin Miranda. You got to get into that. This guy has his own. He's a journalist. As a matter of fact, his mentor was Dr. Regal, the one that I had contacted about my UFO encounter in Kentucky. That's another story, a real one too.
Okay.
But uh, Jorge Martin is an expert, world known. He's on Facebook.
Jorge,
Now, I hope
Jorge,
I'm saying it
Jorge,
right.
Jorge is George, right? Basically.
Uh huh.
Okay, but
George.
it's spelled with a J.
J.
Jorge. Jorge.
Jorge Martin Miranda, or is it Jorge Miranda Martin?
Okay,
Either way, look for the two last names, Martin and Miranda.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Martin is
Jorge.
basically Martin in English. Okay. And
Right.
then the last
Correct.
name Miranda. I think what you're saying about him being so well known worldwide, I think he's the type of guy like the UFO guy from Mexico. I don't know if you know him. His name is
Yes,
Jaime Maussan.
Jaime Musan. That's the
Yeah.
one that had the skeleton of that
Yeah.
alien. It
Yeah.
was Jaime.
And it
Excellent.
said that he actually talked to aliens like face to face. It said
Yes.
there's no real proof, but it said that he has talked to aliens like face to face. It's like, man, that's crazy. He's so
And
much into UFOs and all that. He's got real irrefutable proof of aliens. Let me tell you, that's why he's
yeah.
so big in Mexico. But yeah, so
And
that
remember,
that's what reminds me of your guy that you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
and that brings me back to the Bigfoot thing, the aliens and that. Because remember, there's now the proof that where Bigfoot appears, people talk about the lights, the UFOs connection with the Bigfoot. Now, we can relate to the Bigfoot and the UFOs the same way as the Chupacabra being pets of these aliens. Because it's not that far-fetched that they're doing genetic work on us and on animals. And the Chupacabra is, and the gargoyle, that one I'm leery because the gargoyle is in the ancient history books too. They talk about gargoyles before Christ and after. And those might be real creatures from our own planet. And that's a difference I make about the Puerto Rican gargoyle and the Chupacabra. Two different things. One, I think, is more alien, and that would be the Chupacabra. But the gargoyle, to me, could be a native of our own planet. But the gargoyle in Puerto Rico still is being seen, and it likes to hide in old buildings like warehouses where the sugarcane factories used to be, and in caves. And it's a large creature also. It's not a small. I believe they would say he's like 8-9 feet tall, and he's got bat-like wings.
Bat-like wings. Yeah, that's the way gargoyles are described usually with bat wings type. Laura, can you send me the picture of the gargoyles that you posted just now? Can you send it to my my messenger, that way I can show up on the screen, please, Laura? Thank you. Yeah, a lot of people say, Olga, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but a lot of people say that have seen gargoyles. It's normally like outside churches and stuff like that. Creepy stuff, right? But do you think they're demonic? Because a lot of people relate them to being demonic, like because of the back wings and all that, like being a creature of the night, creature of the devil, basically. Do you agree with that, or what is your take on that?
No, I don't think they're demonic. I actually believe these are cryptids. Cryptids, because the ones in Puerto Rico, we don't see them on the churches. They've been
Mm-hmm.
seen on the roads and the fields. Uh, People describe the same creature, and
Mm-hmm.
this has been going on since the late 50s. And again, I quote and I recommend that Jorge Martin is the one to go on that because he's got the pictures, the photos, and of the chupacabras and all that. So,
Mm-hmm.
oh wow,
There's the one the Lord just sent me. Mm-hmm.
yes, they're.
Let me blow it up a little bit more because it's kind of
I
far.
Yeah, I really think they're real quick. There we go. Yes, that's what people describe in Puerto Rico, and even recently, I think it was earlier this year. Supposedly in Puerto Rico, they found a one of the largest bats in the world. That I think they're in Iraq or Iran. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was in Iraq, Afghanistan. The camel. I think they got the face looks like camels, and they're like 3 feet, but they're not dangerous. And
Right.
they found one in Puerto Rico. One of these bats.
Right, right. Now,
And
let me ask you this, Olga. Have you
mhm,
heard of Dogman? Have you looked into Dogman?
yes, I have.
Okay, okay, great. All right, cool. Because I know we're talking about gargoyles and chupacabras, but I just wanted to know if you had or not, because there's a lot of people that don't, or rather not or whatever. But okay, cool. So look, with my friend, my good friend, my brother Shane from West Coast Dogman Project, he's saying the same thing with the Dogman and the UFO. 90%, 94% of Dogman sightings have been reported seeing a UFO before or after Dogman
Mhm.
sighting. Yes, that is a fact. I've always said that. And yes, thank you for that, Shane. So do you, that's what you were talking about just now about, about the gargoyles and they have some type of, correlation where when you see a UFO, you'll be able to see other creatures as well. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes. Especially with the chupacabra, it makes sense. I didn't see it, but it was raining. But
Mm-hmm.
people, I think, have mentioned that in Puerto Rico. I, I don't guarantee what I'm saying is what's going on, but I believe that's what I've read also, that there have been reports of the lights and the chupacabras. And it makes sense to me because Puerto Rico is such a big hotbed for the UFOs. I mean, we've had people, thousands of people witness a dogfight in 1988 between two jets off the coast of Puerto Rico in Mayagüez against the UFO and the two jets, or the one jet that was completely just disappeared, completely um, just in front of everybody with a dogfight between that and the UFO. It just vanished right in front of everybody's eye, and this was daylight. So, yeah, UFOs are involved
Yeah.
with a lot of these
A lot of
cryptids.
cryptids, yes. Whether it be chupacabras or I think even Mothman, really,
Hmm.
uh, and especially Dogman and Bigfoot. There's many encounters that say, oh, I saw a Bigfoot or a Dogman right before the I saw the UFO, or right after I saw the UFO. You know what I mean? So I've heard both ways many times. I can't, right now, top of my head, I can't, say which episode on what channel. I mean, because there's been
Hmm.
so many. I
Right.
always I've listened to, I don't know. I'm gonna say at least 30 channels on cryptids. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
And
look
I
at the
agree.
one. Yeah, look at the one I was gonna say. Look at the one on screen right now.
Yes,
That looks really creepy, and that
it
looks
is.
demonic to me. If you ask me, that looks demonic because look at the teeth. They're jagged like razor,
Uh,
like you know what I mean.
Yes, that's true. But then my question with the gargoyles still is,
Mm-hmm.
even though they're demonic, but they come back from way before the UFOs were mentioned or what.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is, I think the demonic is because it's like black cats. Back when black cats were thought to be demonic,
Yeah,
And a
or
lot of people,
bad luck. Yeah.
a lot of people still believe that. Just like snakes, a lot of people believe that snakes are the devil's work.
Yeah.
Uh, and
Yeah,
it
because
all has to do with
it was
what
mentioned in the
happened.
Bible.
But these creatures now we know are not demonic; they're just creatures.
Right.
And what if the gargoyle is the same thing? But yeah, it could be demonic. I'm just my belief it has nothing to do with the aliens at all. But it could be demonic. But it
Yeah.
is an actual cryptid. It is an actual creature, flesh and blood. Yeah.
Yeah. That one, I was going to say that one right there because I love that movie. It reminds me a lot of, what's the damn name of this movie? I love that movie. They only had two parts. Where it says Jeepers Creepers, where'd you get
Ah,
those
Jeepers Creepers,
creepers?
three
Jeepers
movies.
Creepers,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that
The
one.
the that
That one.
demonic. Yeah, he
Yeah,
was.
right. And
He was.
he was a type of gargoyle,
Yes.
cryptid,
Mm-hmm.
demonic, right? He would come only every 23 years,
To feed.
and just feed on kids and feed off their fear and all that, right?
Right. Yes, that's right. And he remember when he was hanging in the barn, he had bat-like wings.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those
Uh,
exactly. Yeah, those are bat-like wings. The ones that he flew with, that were
right.
bat-like wings. Yeah.
Excellent movie, the first one.
Yeah, I love it. I
Definitely.
like the first one better than the second one.
Oh,
The
as
third
always.
one, it was kind of no. They just phased out of the original idea. You know, the third one was all suspense. You couldn't even see the thing. It was just all shooting things, and the
Cheaper.
the damn
Cheaper
car
made.
was the damn car was killing people. He wasn't even there. It's just like, oh man, that's just dumb. But yeah, the first one was the best one, and the second one was pretty good too. I'm not gonna
Hmm.
lie. The way
Yeah.
that the father that had his kid taken by this thing, he built that that harpoon, that big harpoon on that
Yeah.
truck, and he got him. He got him. He's the one that got him, and he had him in his barn at the end, and he said they kids came by and paid money to see him, and he was like, they were like, so why you got a shotgun? Are you expecting him to come back? He's like, yep, he's supposed to come back anytime now. Oh, shit.
That was a good movie.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Original.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of wish they made another one where the dad was like maybe dead by that time, and the older brother, remember the older brother, he survived.
Right.
He would be like the new cryptid hunter on that movie. You know what I mean? Something like that, like 23 years after that. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
was expecting them to do that, but they didn't. They kind of messed it up with that third one. But
Well,
anyway,
maybe a fourth one will come where they uh, reinvent it to the original style. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Very, very good.
Yeah, but that was a damn good movie, and of course it's fiction, but it makes you think. It makes you think because you know what, in the movies they always tell you the truth. It's just like werewolves. I thought that was just made up. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And like when I first saw the first movie, I was just a kid, about 5, 6 years old. Saw the very first movie, werewolf movie. It was called The Howling, Part One. It was like
Excellent movie.
1980.
Excellent.
Then they came out with Howling 2, Howling 3, and I don't know where else they went with that. But I remember the first one. I was like, wow, dude, that was scary as hell. Especially back in the days, they used to use this music, like dun 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 dun, make it more suspenseful. You know what I mean? Kind of like Halloween, the first 2 or 3. It was super suspenseful. Like they had that little piano in the back, and dun 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 dun. That the suspense. That's what scared you the most out of the movie. But yeah, what was I going with this? I
And
lost my track
well,
of thought.
yeah, the gargoyles.
Yeah. And
Ugly,
the Jeepers
ugly
Creepers.
creatures. Yeah.
Yes. They are very,
But
very ugly. And people throughout the history actually say they're real. Nobody's ever got like a real footage of it or anything like that. But they say it's real. The only thing they got a picture of is, I don't know if you've seen it on the internet, where people think it's it's a big old gargoyle type thing that's but huge though, huge. It's not a bat. It's not a bat. It's huge. It's like human size, and it's hanging off of the side of a bridge. I can't remember what
Oh,
state, what bridge, but they supposedly call that the Jersey Devil, thinking that that's the
yes,
Jersey Devil. I
that's
think
an
it's
old
around that
tale
area.
too. Yeah,
Yeah, I can't remember the exact name. I looked into it, but I forgot so many things that I looked into. I forgot
and I
where it
think
was.
I think we forget that. Well, how come we don't encounter them more? Well, I look at it this way: these creatures have senses far, far sharper than any of us. Why can't we? Why can't we find Bigfoot? Well, Bigfoot probably smells us 3 miles away. Here's us, so they already are on the lookout to hide. They're in
Hmm.
their element. We're not in our element. So
Right.
I really wonder these cryptids. People say, well,
Yeah,
they said these.
they're the hide and go seek champs. Nobody can
I mean,
find
like,
them.
have you ever gone into these
Yep.
hundreds of miles of wooded land that nobody? I mean, there are plenty of more hiding places than we can ever imagine. So yeah, we
Oh
can
yeah.
lose track of these animals,
Of
these
course, of course,
creatures.
and then they have like cave systems that they can hide
Ex-
into. You
mhm,
know, maybe dens that you can't even see.
exactly.
So they're the hide and go seek champs. You know what
And
I mean?
there's so many avenues. You got the interdimensional realms where the portals that
Yeah.
people have, and I really believe in those too. I used to be such a uh, nah, no way person, but I
Right.
didn't believe in the dogmen. I thought, oh, here we go again. But then the more I read, and then the more witnesses,
Yeah.
and who's to say? You have too many people witnessing from all walks of life
Hmm.
in hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, and we still debunk it. Well, not everybody's going to see everything because I've never seen a bear up close, and we got bears here in North Carolina all over.
I've never
I
seen
just
a
see
bear in
them.
my life. A real life bear. I've never seen one in my life. I
Yeah,
just believe it because there's so many videos out there. You know what I mean?
yeah, and
So,
every year we find new animals, new cryptids
yep,
that we never thought. The
yep.
gorilla was discovered, what, 150 years ago, roughly.
Now Bigfoot, I have seen many videos of people filming them from far away, like on a ridge top of a mountain or something. Walking. I've seen
Mm,
those. So I mean, that's proof right there. I mean, you can't have some kind of giant guy who's 8 to 9 or 10 feet put on a suit and hey, go walk up that ridge and I'm gonna film you and I'm gonna say it's Bigfoot. Yeah. There's no way. There's no human that is that big. I think the tallest human on Earth or in history is like 7 foot something, 7'5" or something like that. That's it. And that was like, and they die. They die easily because their bones or they got some type of bone disease and stuff like that from being so big. They don't live a long life. Well, I should say like they don't live to be 80, 90 years old or anything like that. They die pretty young because of their condition. But the average, like even basketball players, uh, tallest they go is like Shaq, I think, and that's just right at 7 feet. I think you know what I mean. Maybe
mm,
7'1", 7'2". That's it. But these giants, the people are filming, have to be at least 10 foot tall. They've seen Bigfoot's up to 12 foot tall. 15 they mentioned, which I know that's kind of hard to believe, but 12 foot, yeah, 12 foot tall, yeah. I've seen I've heard of that, and the ones I've seen in the video, like I said, they're about that size because they're really far away walking and they cover a distance so fast, a big distance so fast. So yeah, these things are out there. Cryptids are real. Cryptids are real people,
mm.
and cryptids are out there. So you may be listening to this podcast and say, yeah, just a bunch of people just talking about made up stories or supposed cryptids that nobody has a clear picture of, which is true, but there's a lot of people that have seen these things, and like I said, these gargoyles things, they're real. They're real. I've
Yeah,
never seen one up close, but they're real. It's like I said, I've never seen a sperm whale, in real life, but they're real. I never seen a, polar bear in my life in real life, but they're real. You know what I mean? No, actually, I have seen it at the zoo. I'm lying,
okay.
but a whale, yeah, you don't see a whale at the zoo. Come on. So that's the point I'm trying to make. There's a lot of animals out there, and there's a lot of animals that aren't even discovered yet.
Exactly.
It's like the oceans. That's why I tell everybody, like the ocean. What the hell are people or the government trying to discover up in space? All these planets and all these, when they haven't even discovered not more than 20% of the oceans here on Earth. Like, how does that make sense?
It does not, and that's the other thing. That would be the perfect place for the
For a
aliens
lot of,
UFOs.
yes, and that's
And
another
that's
thing.
why
Yes, that's why it's said that they hide in the oceans. Did you know that?
they do.
Base,
Yeah, in Puerto Rico,
they have bases under the water. Yeah, underwater
there's a
bases.
base in Puerto Rico, and one of the entrances, the Cartagena Lagoon, which is off Cabo Rojo. And there's plenty of stories and witnesses. You got to understand, in Puerto Rico, we also had the Navy base there, which is no longer there. Puerto Ricans
Mm.
wanted it out because it had nuclear submarines there, and
Ooh.
it was on the east coast, right next to the El Yunque rainforest, where you've got one of the most active UFOs. Even a UFO crash supposedly happened there in the 70s, which is now coming out. The story's coming out now. But yes, we have underwater bases there, and many people are witness to the UFO coming out of Cartagena Lagoon. Check it out.
Yeah.
Believe me, if you're a non-believer, you'll become a believer because it's real people talking real, and these are not people that are looking for fame, gaining anything. That's
Yeah.
the last thing they want. But they want the story told because they know something is going on.
And you know what, too, Olga? I wanted to add to that about the the underwater the underwater bases, alien bases that people say they seen them go in and out of the water of the oceans. They're called USOs,
Right.
unidentified submersible objects. So you know what I think? I think the Bermuda Triangle thing. I think it has to do a lot with underwater alien bases. You know, I think that's why all the magnetism that's down there and all that makes
Mhm.
all the the clocks go crazy and the compasses and all that, and that's how they get lost or whatever. And I think they just crash in the ocean and that's it. But people think they disappear into nowhere, and then come back like after 30 years and them thinking it's only been 45 minutes or whatever, right?
And you
But
got to understand also, the Bermuda Triangle is right next to the deepest trench of the Atlantic Ocean, the Puerto Rican Trench. And that trench is 10 miles off the coast of Puerto Rico, and it's the deepest canyon in the whole Atlantic Ocean. The Pacific has the Mariana Trench, the deepest one in the world.
right,
But after that, it's the Puerto Rican Trench. So
really.
that counted right there with the Bermuda
Bermuda
Triangle.
Triangle. Wow, makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I bet
Yeah.
it is. I bet it's got a lot to do with that. Of the disappearances of boats and ships and all that. I think it's the UFOs taking them. Honestly, because that's like a hot spot for UFOs. That's what I'm saying.
It is.
And also like the cryptids that we talk about a lot, Olga. I don't know if you've seen my channel before, but the main cryptids that we talk about here in this channel is either Dogman or Bigfoot or like Rake or things like that
Right.
in the cryptid world. In a lot, and like I was saying earlier, a lot of people think that they're demonic or spiritual or flesh and blood. And there's all types of opinions of what they are and where they go, whatever. But a lot of them too, with the aliens, like we said, a lot of people mention that they're alien pets, as far as Dogman and Bigfoot, right? Because they see a UFO right before or after their Bigfoot encounter or Dogman, and And another thing too is like a lot of people call them interdimensional because they step into and out of this dimension through portals. Have you heard of that?
Right.
Yeah,
Skinwalker Ranch brings that
yeah,
to a point.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And I
Hmm.
was, again, a disbeliever about that. But then, after watching Skinwalker and other things that people have mentioned, it makes very sense. Very much. It
Hmm.
makes a lot of sense.
Right,
There's so many things on this earth we don't know.
right.
Some people even think that we are what? A, um, a glitch in the matrix. We're a matrix.
Yeah, yeah, like a matrix system. Yeah, hmm,
But
yeah, that is
in all
true.
reality, for me, I do believe in the cryptids. I'm sure definitely also on the aliens because I've had my own. And it's strange because
Yeah.
a lot of people that have had UFO encounters, been
Hmm.
abducted, they have also been privy to
Wow.
having paranormal. And I
Yeah,
believe that sometimes
yeah.
they're connected somehow. How long have the UFOs been around? Beginning of times, they talked about the spaceships, the space people,
Right.
the sky people. In every society, even in the natives of South America,
Hmm.
there is always an allusion to the sky people. Always in the Mayan, in the Aztecs, uh, wherever you go, people have mentioned them. Not from now, not from 200 thousands of years, and even in the Bible, and the story of Ezekiel and the wheel. And
Right.
what is described there is an astronaut.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So, yeah,
There's
cryptids
so
and
many
aliens.
undiscovered things in this world. I bet you there's fish out there that we've never seen and have
Oh,
yet to discover in the oceans. You know, and
right.
and even alien type fishes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
And the YouTube, you get on YouTube and you get on the podcast, everywhere,
yeah.
you learn so much because
Oh yeah.
they all relate. We're all looking for the same thing. What is
Yes.
going on in our world?
Yes.
We are not
What we don't
exclusive.
know. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's an everlasting curiosity that we have as humans, and that's our nature. That we want to learn. We want to find things. We want to discover things, and it's our human nature to try to find new stuff that we don't know about. Curiosity and yeah. So well, Olga, is there anything else you would like to share with us before we end the show tonight?
Not really, because I got so much has happened to me. But no, I
Okay.
think that what I want to share is that you always must have an open mind
Mm-hmm.
and always seek out. Don't stop. Just keep on searching and learning. Knowledge is the one tool that never is going to let you down. Don't
Mm-hmm.
trust the scientists that say no. Don't
Nope.
trust the government that denies.
Nope.
You do the
You do your
homework,
own research. Yes, exactly.
research, and never judge the book by the cover. Open the
Right.
book. Simple.
Right. Right.
And
Exactly.
and be happy. Be positive. That's all. And I thank you so much. I'm tickled pink. I really am.
Yes, yes. No, thank you, Olga, for accepting my invite and reaching out to me when I made the post. If anybody had any encounters on Cryptid and Paranormal Kingdom Facebook group, I believe that's where you commented, and you're like, yeah, I have a couple, and I'm like, wow, really? What is it? And you're like, well, one's a chupacabra, and one's a like this other creature. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, the gargoyle that you said. So I'm like,
Yeah.
cool, and that's when I contacted you. I said, okay, well, I'll contact you soon, and that's where we
And I thank you. I
got
thank you.
together. Yeah. So
A
thank you. I
blessing. A
appreciate that.
blessing. And I
Yes.
will definitely be watching your podcast and my friends too. In fact, I
Oh
have a friend
yeah.
here. I have a friend here who never believed in UFOs until a couple months ago, right here on the street. And I
Yeah.
put the pictures on Facebook because she's taken and I've taken. And her and her little grandson saw the UFO broad daylight in the morning, and they're here. So for
Yeah.
people, I say, yeah, look where you're walking, but keep the eyes up to the sky.
Open. Yes. Yes.
And you
Exactly.
will
Yes.
believe me.
Yes. I had three UFO sightings myself, Olga. Where I saw it with my own two eyes. Yeah. Up in the sky.
Yeah,
I had three. One in
yeah,
93. One
awesome.
in 93. One in
Wow.
2000, and one in 2013. I haven't had any more since, but I wish I could, but I
Don't
haven't.
be surprised. They'll show up.
And I really hope they didn't how do you say abduct me, because um I don't think they did, because I was with somebody the whole time. All three. First one I was with my ex-wife, the second one I was with my dad, and the third one I was with my partners at work, my co-workers or whatever. Yeah, so I don't think they abducted me, unless it was while I was asleep and I didn't know, but I hope not. But yeah,
No.
and I believed in them before I've seen him. My dad also, when we saw it in 2000, my dad, he believed in them before we saw that one together. Uh, it was on 99 going to 2000, New Year's Eve. It was at night, and it had a bunch of pretty colors going around, like choo 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 turning, and it was right next to a radio tower. I think that's why it was there, like, I don't know, listening in or whatever, because it was, a big, ruckus
Right.
about, everybody was partying, everybody was, shooting. There's fireworks and all that stuff. So yeah, and I believed in it before I actually seen one in real life. I already believed in it, and that's the same way I believe in Bigfoot, and that's the same way I believe in Dogman.
Exactly.
Same way.
They're real. They
Yeah,
are real, breathing,
yeah,
living creatures.
yeah.
And then don't let anyone say that they don't. And above all, I'll be honest, and this is non-political. Do
Hmm.
not trust the government. The disclosure of UFOs is not going to come from the government. It belongs and it is owed to the aliens themselves to disclose. I
Right.
don't believe in disclosure because I know they're here.
Well, they say that the supposed Antichrist that's coming, which is a fake Antichrist or whatever. I think
Right.
that relates to the fake alien invasion the government's going to try to do first, and then the
Oh,
real
yeah.
ones are going to come after that. But yeah,
Yeah.
anyway, that's
Yeah.
that's another that's a whole nother
And
rabbit
that's a
hole.
story. So,
Yeah,
but
but
I love being here. I thank you with all my
yes,
heart.
no, you did
And I
great. Thank you, Olga. I appreciate
and
it
I
for
want
being the
to
first time.
sing.
You did great. Yes,
Oh, thank you. And to everybody's watching, I love y'all. I really do. And always
awesome.
be positive.
Yes, yes, yes,
I've
yes,
had my hard life. We all do. But you know what? You don't look back. You look forward.
yes,
And
yes.
that's the way I look
Yeah, we're,
at
co-
life.
we're communicated with the
Mm.
universe. So if you think
We
positive,
are.
you're going to receive positive. If you think
Eh,
negative, you're going to receive negative. So
We are the
remember that, guys.
universe. We
Hmm.
are the universe.
Yeah,
We
we're connected.
belong to it. We are the universe.
Absolutely.
So I love it. I love being here because I love people and I love to learn and to share.
Thank you,
Thank
thank
y'all.
you.
Thank every one of y'all. And you,
Yes, yes, yes.
Carlitos, especially.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I hope you enjoy being on my podcast, being your first
Oh, I
podcast,
do.
Olga.
I do.
Yeah,
Buenas noches.
yeah.
Good
Buenas
night.
noches.
Good night. In every
Yes,
language. But yeah, good
yes,
night, and thank you. I'm over the moon.
yes. Thank
Bye
you, everybody, for being here
bye.
tonight. Bye
Okay, we'll
bye.
see each
Bye.
other. Bye,
Thank you,
folks.
Olga.
Bye,
Okay.
Carlitos.
All
Bye,
right. We'll
folks.
stay in
Bye.
touch. Bye bye.
Good
Thank you,
night.
everybody. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight, guys. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to have another show tomorrow, Sunday, with Daryl Denton. Stay tuned for that, guys. Tomorrow, same time, 8 o'clock. I squeezed them in because I had them already waiting, so I just had to squeeze them in together. One today and one tomorrow. So hope to see you guys tomorrow. Daryl Denton, he's got a big group on Facebook. It's called oh my God, was it Bigfoot Believers and Other Creatures? That's what it's called. And he's gonna be here tomorrow night, guys. So hope to see y'all then. Carlito Castro, peace out. Signing out, guys. See y'all tomorrow. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night, Carlitos.